Why are city games on Roblox so bad? Okay, well, maybe not all of them are bad, but a lot of them don't take advantage of all the underrated features that could be added to the games. And one of those underrated features is trains. Trains are not used in nearly enough city games, and all the city games they're used in aren't very popular. So with a comment with 400 likes and a lot more comments asking for trains, I think it's already obvious what I'm gonna add in this video. So, if we're adding trains to our city game, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need the main train engine, which is at the front of the train, the middle cars, and the back engine. Then, we're going to need two other things, a train crossing and a train station. So I started with the front car. Taking reference from this image, I started slowly modeling the front of the car, adding details like metal on the sides, a ladder to get up on the car, and even this little cover for the front of the train that kind of looks like a bulldozer. Anyways, after that, I also added some branding to the train, which I decided to call PNX Railways to fit with the theme of PNX Autos, PNX Transit, PNX Jobs. So now with the front car done, all that was really left to do was add some wheels to it so that it could actually move on the track, which basically consisted of adding more wheels and a new base. Now it was time to make the train tracks, but first I decided to melt the snow, because it's already April, and you've probably gone this whole year without subscribing, so you should, because I'm trying to get to 20k. But now, it was time to make the trains really move. So I started by making train tracks, which I did by building the track shape based on the train wheel. Then I curved out the track, but the turns seemed to be a little too sharp for the trains, so I decided to make the turn less sharp. And before I tested it, I decided to add some more cars to the train to make sure it worked just right. What I added onto these cars though is what's really important, and there was only two main options: adding a passenger car or adding a piece of cargo on top. And after a lot of deciding and thinking, I picked adding cargo on top. Mainly because it was easier, and all you have to do is add a box and stick it on top of the car. And for the name of the cargo, I decided to look at my comments section. Since I got a lot more comments in my public transport video than my other videos, I had to filter out based on one word. Trains. After I got the top 4 commenters, I made a small cargo model, put it on the train, and put all the names on each of the cargos. Now that I've done that, here's the list of all the names I used. BMW Man Cargo for BMW Man 1, Orange Orca Warehouse for Orange Tangy Orca, P4EO Storage for P4EEOO, and Castro Warehouse for Winnie Castro 2. Make sure to comment an idea so you can get in the next video. Alright, so now with the front car and the cargo cars of the train finished, I tested the tracks again with my less sharp turns, and it worked. Okay, so now that the train's done, I decided to move to the train crossing next, because I think the train station's going to be a little bit easier, so I'm going to get the harder one out of the way. Little did I know that would not be the case later. So I started by extending the tracks over the road that's a little bit farther from where I started. Then I raised the road up to the train track so that the cars could actually make it over, and that the trains could still travel smoothly. Well, mostly smoothly. Now that we have the base of our train crossing, I started to work on the main element, the signs and the warning lights. So I spent a bit of time making the post and the lights, and then I coded the lights to activate when a train got close. But before we do anything else, let's add some gates, because we don't want cars crossing the road even when the lights are active. There we go. And to detect how close the train was, I added a part a little bit up the track, that when the train touched it, it would trigger the warning lights. Okay, so now we have the front car, the cargo cars, the train tracks, and the train crossing. So now what else do we need? Well, I think now's the time to make the other type of car, which is the passenger car. Since people actually have to be able to ride the train, or else it's pretty much useless. As I made the passenger car, I started to realize that it's actually not much harder than the cargo car, since all I had to do was put a new model on the base of the train and add some doors for the train stations. Speaking of train stations, it looks like it's the only thing left to complete our train system. But now, I'm gonna get to why it was a lot harder than the train crossing. First I made the model, which was the easiest part. Then I had to make the train slow down and then stop, which came with its own problems. What the heck? But after I got it fixed, I just switched the slow and stop to a stop since it was simpler. But then, this was the hard part. When I added the train station, I accidentally created a new bug. When the train started to move, all the cars would disconnect. Because they weren't actually connected, I just made it look like they were connected. So now what I had to do was change all of the train cars so that they had actual connection, which means I had to add a rope constraint to each train car so that they were binded with more than just a few parts. And after a lot of testing, they finally worked out. So with everything finally done, it's time for the final result.